Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Potato Operator here. How's everyone doing today? And welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. In case you're wondering where my beard has gone and where my hair has gone, we currently have 46 hours left on the subathon, where I have been live for the last 13 days over on my Twitch channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing a ranking of all of the Scav bosses in Escape from Tarkov. So guys, let me know if you agree, disagree with my picks. I'll give you reasons for every one of my picks, and hopefully you guys enjoy. If you do end up enjoying, please make sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below, leave a like. Trying to hit 100k subs by the end of the year, which would be very cool. So with all that being said, let's begin with the tier list. So we've got Big Pipe, this dude Bird Eye, the Cultists, Reshala, Gluhar, Killa, Knight, Sanitar, Santa, F tier. I don't know why Santa's on here, but Santa's going in the F tier. Fuck you, Santa, you asshole. Shturman, Tagilla, and Reshala. Santa immediately going in the F tier. Santa was the cause of a lot of drama. Everybody hated Santa because they all kept accidentally shooting him and losing all their scav rep. Although Santa did sometimes give some pretty good presents in his big red sack. So here we have Big Pipe. He has the 6-round rotary grenade launcher, along with, you know, some other pretty decent equipment. And they can also spawn with all of the colored lab cards as well. Same with Bird Eye and the same with Knight as well. So I should probably rank all these guys together. This is technically, you know, one boss. Like, they all spawn as a group together. I think as far as design, they're pretty cool. And as far as execution, they're pretty sweet. They're definitely very, very scary to fight. So I think as far as like diversity and as far as difficulty, they're definitely pretty high. I think I've got to put Big Pipe, Knight, and Bird Eye in probably S tier, to be honest. They're three really, really cool bosses. Their loot is really awesome, and the way they fight is good. They're very hard to kill, and you have to be very, very careful and very, very methodical fighting these guys. Otherwise, you will basically be insta-killed if you make a single misstep. And I just think their theme is awesome. I wish their spawn rates would be increased a little bit, but I think that the goons, otherwise known as the rogue bosses, should probably be an S tier, honestly. So moving on from that, we've got the Cultists S tier. I'm actually going to put them above the rogues. I love the Cultists so much. The Cultists are easily my favorite activity in Tarkov to do as far as bosses and unique AI are concerned. I love fighting them. They're so creepy. The way they kind of whisper at you, they don't make footsteps. They can stab you with the poison knife, so if you forget your antidote, you're screwed. Their loot is really good as well. Again, all of the cultists can have colored keycards spawn on them as well. They often spawn with good ammo, pretty decent weapons, attachments, and other rare loot just littered in their backpacks. And you can run into them on damn near every map. The only maps you can't run into cultists on is Lighthouse, Interchange, and Labs. You can't run into them. Oh, they're not on reserve either, sorry. Now, the only thing that I dislike about cultists is their spawn rate is exceptionally low. It's actually lower this patch, I believe. That makes me kind of sad because I love fighting these guys. It's super fun for me fighting these guys on Shoreline. Fighting them on customs is pretty sweet as well. As far as design, execution, creepy factor, scary factor, these guys are so cool. And I'd love to be a player brand new to Tarkov and run into them for the first time and just absolutely shit myself. So Reshala was actually the first Scav boss ever added to Tarkov. I think Reshala was really cool when he first came out. But these days, he's very, very, very easy. Especially if you have grenades and you're fighting them in dorms. Reshala is just a complete pushover. The only resistance you're going to get from this boss is if one of the guards has an Alton or maybe even a Zish visor. As I said, when he first came out, he was awesome. Very, very cool. Really awesome concept added to the game. But for me, over the years, he's kind of become a little irrelevant. Reshala and his gear is honestly not really very good. Sometimes you can get lucky and you can get fort armors off him, which is nice for the Ragman quest. Sometimes you can get, well, I mean off his bodyguards. And you can also get slicks off them as well. But they're very, very few and far between. They're very, very rare. I will say it is nice to be able to get TV10s off them and stuff like that. But with the weight being the way it is this wipe, if you didn't bring a mule, good luck ferrying everything out with you. And I usually just end up leaving most of the gear behind. And I just loot Reshala, look for the lab keycard, and look for the Bitcoin out of his pockets. And then I usually just leave everything else behind. So for me, Reshala goes in the C tier. But I want this to be known, I still think he's a great boss. But I think comparatively to all the other bosses we're going to have on this list, Reshala should kind of be down here a little bit. Moving on to Gluhar. So Gluhar, for those of you that don't know, is the Scav boss for the map Reserve. Gluhar, as far as his design goes, is very cool. He's got some guards that will rush you. He's got some guards that will sit back and snipe at you from a distance. He's got some guards that act as bodyguards for him. And the way the boss AI works in general is very, very cool. I will say, though, it's very annoying because sometimes Gluhar suffers from Killa syndrome, which essentially means he will just one-tap you without warning sometimes, and that is very, very frustrating, especially when you're on the quest where you've got to kill him. But it is definitely a challenge, and I think the boss is very unique, and I think the design is very unique. His weaponry as well is also pretty cool, where you can get that nice M1A with M993 and the Ash 12, and then obviously, you know, the loot that himself and his guards can have. Honestly, the loot from the guards is absolutely terrible as far as the helmets, the armor, the guns and stuff like that. It's probably just scavenge ammo, scavenge attachments, and then leave all the guns behind because their guns are pretty bad. He's just one of my lesser favorite bosses. I'm going to put him in the B tier for the time being. Not only is he very, very hard to find, but for me, I've never really enjoyed fighting Gluhar all that much. The fight often feels very, very unfair and kind of imbalanced for the reward that you're going to get for killing him. You know what I mean? Moving on to everybody's favorite. It is Killa. So lads, Killa over the years has gone through many iterations. We've had Killa where he doesn't have his iconic helmet and armor on. They changed that back real quick when everybody freaked out about it. We've had Power Slide Killa. We've had basically easy mode baby Kermit the Frog Killa, where you could just run up and shoot him in the legs and he literally did absolutely nothing about it. And now we've got a cross between, I guess, Terminator Killa and sometimes, you know, kind of pissed off dog Killa, to where sometimes where you run into this guy, he'll go Kapka, and then you're dead. Sometimes you'll run into him and he'll go Suka, and then you can actually manage to get a shot or two off before you die. Killa is one of those bosses in Tarkov where if you don't spot him first, you're probably dead. I also have to mention, like, I'd be absolutely roasted if I didn't mention this. Guys, Killa has another special mode where sometimes he just decides to run you down. If you aggro Killa from range, Killa doesn't like fighting at range. He wants to be right up in your ass, much like his brother Tagilla. So Killa will just sprint at you in basically a direct straight line, and the second you peek a millimeter of your body, he will do his famous power slide and whip his gun up faster than Willow Smith can whip her hair back and forth. I'm sure we've all died to Killa this way, the famous power slide, and it is incredibly frustrating. But I think Killa probably has the best loot out of pretty much every boss in the game. Killa's helmet is worth a lot of money. It's also a very, very good helmet to use on factory and labs and stuff like that. Body armor, the class 5 chest stomach armor, arguably the best armor in Tarkov, as far as my opinion is concerned. I used to exclusively run this armor only. He also has a chance of dropping keycards, and his RPK can be loaded with like Eaglenik or BT and like other good AK ammo. He also has tons of nades, and he drops Salwas, which is nice too. I know some people are going to be like, nah, Killa's F tier, man. That boss is bullshit. I am somewhat inclined to agree with you, but Killa holds a very special place in my heart. So Killa for me, A tier. But when interchange gets better, I'll put him up in S. But for now, we're going to put Killa in A. But definitely the most iconic boss in Escape from Tarkov. Absolutely 100%. Lads, I've got a love-hate relationship with Sanitar. I don't understand what's going on with this boss's AI. Sometimes I'll run into Sanitar and his guards, and he'll just sit there and take it and die. And he'll do absolutely nothing. The other 50% of the time I run into him, I get one-tapped. I don't know what's going on with this boss. I think Sanitar is in need of like some looking at right now. He is just absolutely all over the place. Sanitar, for those of you that don't know, is the scav boss of Shoreline. The loot from Sanitar really isn't great. About the best thing you can get from his guards is like the defender armor, and hope that they have AKs that have 762 BP in them. And if they don't have that, the meds are pretty decent, but you know, it's nothing you can't get from like literally 1 or 2 rooms in the resort anyway. And you can often get, you know, sometimes lucky with like, you know, some decent helmets off them too. As far as Sanitar himself is concerned, we're mostly looking for stims off him, right? Him and his guards, that's what everybody wants. You know, a bunch of stims for their samples quest. Sometimes he can have a VSS with the most insanely broken ammo in the game. He should not have that ammo. No boss in the game should have ammo like that. I don't even think Gluhar should have M993 in his gun. Sometimes he can have a Keter. Oh, don't worry though. He'll still one-tap you with it. And then obviously also he can have his key card with the blue paint on it or the blue stripe on it or whatever, which is for his exclusive room on labs. Also, he can have, of course, the Sanitar tape key. In my opinion, that key is absolutely useless. It sucks. It spawns a LEDX once per 100 uses. So for all of those reasons, I think his loot is very bad. I think if they wanted to buff Sanitar right now, they could make it so that the injector case was only ever available from him. Take the injector case off the flea market. Don't let the traders sell it. Don't have it as a quest reward. Just make it so it's an exclusive drop from Sanitar. And then Sanitar would actually be worth farming and finding. For me, Sanitar, I feel like he has to go in the D tier. Definitely needs some love. And I think he should probably be looked at. Hopefully sometime sooner rather than later. Shturman, I think Shturman's pretty fantastic. He goes in S tier. He is one of the few, if not the only boss in the game that actually has an exclusive drop, which can only be acquired from a high-level trader later on in the game, that being the Red Rebel. I really like his loot. He's got SVDs, he's got AKs, really good ammo. He's also got the Shturman stash key as well. I looted this a bunch last wipe or the wipe before, and I actually found a lot of really great stuff in there. And the way that Shturman fights, the way he takes a shot, you know, a few shots and then repositions, I think is really sweet. The way his guards kind of flank around and pinch you and stuff. It feels like you're fighting a real person. He feels very fair. I think his loot is very good. His guard loot, not really that great. It's just a fun boss, and it's a fun mechanic to have a little like hidden chest, like locked behind. You have to kill the boss first and then you can loot the chest. He's great in the sawmill. It's like a perfect environment for him. It's loads of cover for him there. It feels like his natural environment. I just think he's awesome, and I think he absolutely deserves to be in the S tier. In my opinion, best designed and perfectly balanced bosses in Tarkov. Last but not least, guys, we've got Tagilla. So Tagilla is the scav boss for Factory. He is one of the newer bosses in the game. Dude, Tagilla is absolutely awesome. I think he's such a cool boss. His concept is fantastic. He is insanely aggressive, and he's got this massive hammer that he can chase you down with and basically two-hit you with it. Oftentimes has a very, very scary drum mag shotgun. I also love his visor. I think his visor is among the best helmets in the game. Absolutely 10 out of 10 visor. Probably my favorite helmet to use in Tarkov. As far as his loot is concerned, he can have colored keycards on him. He also has like Saloas and stuff like that too. But the main attraction to Tagilla is honestly getting his class 6 rig and getting his helmet, and then just grabbing whatever gun he has, checking his pockets for colored keycards, and then getting your ass out of dodge. He's just one of those bosses that makes Factory a little bit scarier, because when you run into him, you go, "Whoa!" It's like every time. It doesn't matter how experienced you are, it's always, "Whoa!" And, you know, you turn around, you run away, you make a little bit of distance, you turn around, you're shooting, you're screaming, everybody's covered in shit. He's very similar to the Cultists in that way. He's a fun boss to run into, because he's kind of scary. I will say Tagilla's difficulty is definitely very underwhelming. I find Tagilla to be probably the easiest scab boss in the game to kill, especially when he just pulls out his hammer. If he pulls out his hammer, he will stand still for a second, do the animation of him pulling it out. In that time where you have, you know, if you have a decent gun, you will just shred him in half a second. I love his design. I love his animations. I love the way he works. I love his AI. He's just too easy to kill. I really want to put him in S tier because I love this boss. Because he's so incredibly unique. His design is great. His loot is absolutely phenomenal. Just because he's a lot more unique than a lot of the other bosses, I think that Tagilla deserves to go in the S tier. Because they did a phenomenal job with him. And let me tell you, running into him at night, if that doesn't make the shit run down your leg, lads, I don't know what will. So we've got Cultists, Big Pipe, Knight, and Bird Eye, along with Shturman and Tagilla in the S tier. I think these guys are definitely the best bosses that Tarkov has right now. All very cool, all very, very much unique in their own way. The reason why Killa is down here is because he honestly shares a lot of similarities with Gluhar and also sometimes with Shturman, with the whole power sliding and just the instant one-tap sometimes. Gluhar's loot, kind of underwhelming, feels like kind of an unfair boss to fight a lot of the times, and he's just not that fun to fight. Loot's not that great, so I've got him down in the B. Reshala, one of the first bosses in Tarkov right now, is a little underwhelming. After the first week or two of the wipe, his gear is also kind of irrelevant. The only redeeming factor is that you can get slicks and altons off of his bodyguards. And then we've got Sanitar down here in the D tier. Sanitar, for me, he needs work. He needs love. Santa Claus, suck my nuts. So there you have it. That is my tier list of all of these scab bosses in Escape from Tarkov. So guys, if you guys enjoyed, again, please make sure to subscribe. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'd very much appreciate it. And let me know who your guys' favorite are. You know, let me know if you agree with my list. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, my dudes.